Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is First Friday Spirit Talk. I'm Christopher Mitchell, and I will be your host today. We're opening up with a short segment that I call Chris's Astrocast, where I'm going to explore some of the current energies that are going on for us collectively through the tool of astrology. And this month, I wanted to talk about a square that is happening to the nodes of the moon. A little thorny, but I'll make it simple. And I already talked about this a bit back in the February episode. So if you're watching the replay or something, you can go back and watch the first 5 minutes of our episode from February 2022 to get some more context for this. And in that, I talked about how the nodes of the moon, which are these opposite points in the chart that are kind of called like the points of destiny, they show where we're coming from and what we're heading towards. And they always move opposite in the chart like this. And this year they shifted into Taurus and Scorpio, where they have been working on the energy of coming from Scorpio, cleaning all of that up, bringing it towards Taurus, from chaos and triggers and intensity towards stability and peace and like groundedness, right? Now, in that process of this nodal karmic energy transformation, there's when they're right now, so they're making a line like this, and we've got Mars, Venus, Vesta, which is an asteroid, and Saturn all moving here in a square to those nodes. And the way that that works, so Mars is how we act and what we want. Venus is what our values are. And Saturn is integrity and like how we make things real in our lives. And Vesta is what's essential and like deeply meaningful to us. And so as these four planets all move here in a square to that Scorpio-Taurus nodal axis, what a lot of astrology lingo, but I'm going to break it down into what it means right now. And what that is that anything that is squaring the nodes, anything that is passing through that energetic point and corridor becomes essential for integration. It says that in order to move from Scorpio to Taurus, in order to move from like traumatic content and stress and intensity to groundedness and peace and simplicity, we have to address these things that are passing square the nodes. We have to integrate them, get them into place, and work with them. And with Saturn there, and Mars and Venus there as well, what that looks like, and it's really the project of this whole year, but right now in particular, last week of March, first couple weeks of April is when it is like at its most emphatic, when it's at its most salient, is that this is a time when we're being asked to look into the heart of one of our biggest kind of karmic knots, or a complex of karmic knots, and see the way to clean it up, to actually set the foundation in better place through right choices, right actions, right alignment of our values, cleaning up of whatever it is that keeps us from having our foundation set in a solid way there. We're unraveling that knot right now in order to free up a lot of energy to move from that scorpionic kind of stressful content into a place of more ease. And in order to make that shift and to unlock that potential in our lives, we're being asked to work with, and it could be a lot of things. It can be you're getting your taxes done, you're figuring out your job or your relationship situation, you're getting your money right, whatever it is, the thing that always causes stress, the thing that always doesn't feel right is being asked to be made right so you can build the rest of your life on top of that. And this is an amazing opening gateway to work with something important right now. And it can be frustrating and we can feel stuck, but within it, we are in the heart of a deep puzzle, and we do have the tools that we need to work it. So just move into what feels aligned, move into what feels clear, move into what feels in alignment with your highest self, and trust that laying that as a foundation will allow so much more to start to be able to spring up, right? It's spring, grow out of that tilled garden space, I guess, if we're going to stretch that metaphor a little bit. So that is the current astrology, as best as I can break it down. And now let me introduce you to the rest of the show. So this is First Friday Spirit Talk, where we get together on the first Friday of every month to talk about different spiritual and metaphysical topics in depth. I'm here with two of my favorite spiritual teachers, Reverend Ginny Brown and Scout Bartlett. And like I said, I'm your host and astrologer, Christopher Mitchell. This month, we're going to be exploring the theme of dating and attraction. And let me tell you, I have been excited for this one. I've had the questions written for 3 months. I've got a lot to learn here too, so I'm going to be right there with y'all. And just to start out, I'll pass it to Ginny and ask, why is it that some people strike us in this powerful way and draw all of this energy out of us? Like, what is attraction about, and why do some people light that up for us, whereas others don't?
Because we're blind to our karmic connection to them. That irresistible urge, that moth to the flame, even though it could be destructive, it could be, all these, could be about growth, could be, about losing yourself or gaining yourself or whatever shows up as like the process. It's usually because we're blind to our karma with that person. And whether that we're being attracted to help that person or to love that person or to forgive that person or to fight with that person or whatever it is, there's usually a past life reason for that. Or something neutrally that we're both working on in opposition or together, and that we want to kind of have reflected to us. So, sometimes it is, yes, like we are picking up where we left off from another life. And other times it's just about the attraction point of likeness that's bringing us together and having us explore it with that person. Because when it's time for us to grow, it's time for us to grow. And so, we can find ourselves like attracted or pulled even when we're not looking for it, or when just when the time is right. And so I always tend to like kind of trust that divine timing of what's showing up in this moment is what I'm being attracted to. I am being called to learn. And sometimes I don't know what that's about. It could be a pure physical attraction or a pure scent-based attraction. All these different pulls that we have in our sensual being that is attracting us towards someone. But underneath that, there's something else. And I think it's kind of good to be foolish around what that is, like what that initial attraction is, so that you can stay in the open-minded mystery of it, is my initial take on such a great question. What do you think, Scout?
For those of you that haven't met me, everything dissolves into energy flows and energy patterns for me. And I interact with real life from my first 5 senses, but that inner sense is about energy patterns. The shortest version I can do that I've been working on it for a while. I actually saw it in a vision a long time ago, and so I've been sorting out everything I learned from that. I would phrase it this way, that in the beginning, there's an original wholeness floating in whatever original wholeness is float in. And that original wholeness encounters a pool of random raw material energy that's no thing. In the Christian Bible, it says, God looked out and saw no thing. It got typoed into nothing, but it was no thing. And so each of us is a fragment of that original wholeness that fragments out to go take on this unaligned energy to bring it aligned and up in frequency and bring it attuned and bring it back and join it into God so God grows. But within that original wholeness, you could think of it like a very deeply woven tapestry. And so each of us is a point where threads cross or a knot in the tapestry, but we share threads with a whole lot of points around us. We share a lot of threads, and further out in the tapestry, we share a few threads. And there are those knots in the tapestry with whom we share no threads. We only share tapestry-ness. When we encounter somebody with whom we share a lot of those threads touch us and connect with us at the core essence of us, that is the heart of us, the love of us, the center of our spirit, the who we really are part. And that sets off little gongs, whether it's your best friend's baby or whether it's the amazing person across the restaurant. And so I look at it that if you've ever had that fun experience where your friend says they have an additional friend, how dare they? But that you ought to meet their additional friend because you've got so much in common. You guys are just going to love each other. And I don't know how y'all are, but when I hear those phrases, it's like, yeah, probably not. But what we've got going on is sometimes you get to meet your friend's friend and you've got all of these things in common, but there's no connection. Wow, we both go to underwater basket weaving conventions. We've probably seen each other there. We'll have to get together. And you won't. Where other people, you run into them and there's not an immediate obviousness of stuff in common, and yet there's a pull. That pull is the fact that there are those core essence threads that connect you, and that drives the whole thing. With that said, then we're into the dance of, if I came in with this pattern, just to create it, because that's not what they look like, then I'm out there in the world looking for people with whom I share connection that have either matching patterns so that we can agree about it or battle about it, or they have the complement of the pattern so that we can do that whole dance of that pattern and watch it unfold, which is exactly what, she's that direction, which is exactly what Ginny was just saying, that sometimes we get drawn together because we get to see each other reflected. Sometimes we get drawn together because we get to do the dance and find out how the whole dance dances out. That didn't word well. But it is all the magnetics and it's the energy patterns. And so the funniest part is, as my guidance at one point when I was whining about this topic, and it was like, why do we have such, and not everyone does, let me acknowledge that, but why do so many of us have such a draw toward, I need to find my one. I need to have one. There needs to be one. I need one. Why do we have such a draw toward either partnership or, whatever variation of that we've got? And my guidance being who they are, said there's two primary reasons why we end up with such a spiritual draw toward trying to find that one or that relationship thing. One reason is because that relationship thing is a place where we can be touched in that core essence of who we are. That connection touches us in the core essence of who we really are. And so that relationship thing brings us back to our heart and gives us motivation to come back to our heart and come back to our heart. So reason number one for that big draw toward relationship is because it is one of the ways, and it's a key way that touches us deeply in our heart and reminds us who we really are. And then they said, and the second reason is there's nothing else that punches our buttons nearly as good as a solid one-to-one relationship to throw us out of who we are so that we have to remember how to find our way back.
What I'm noticing around that too, Scout, is, that desire to connect with the one is the desire to connect back into oneness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To really merge back into our connection with God and with Creator, because nothing exists outside of all, right? But we are having an individual experience of that. So to desire relationship with the one, I think, goes in a very, broad and a bigger desire from our spirit to reunify with that oneness.
Earth is a magnet school. And it's a magnet school to study separateness. Mm-hmm. This school of Earth.
So when microphone on,
we just made Christopher blush again. That's so cute.
I had messed with my monitor volume, so I surprised myself with my headphones. So when we've got someone who is lighting us up in this way, and we're feeling attracted, and maybe there is a lot of matching patterness or connected threads, and there's that feeling, right? That infatuation, that excitement, and we're really drawn to them. I realized recently that it's so easy. I've had friends in my life who are fixed on someone who's showing up in their space that they're attracted to, and it's really easy to say to them, "Oh, just stay grounded. Just stay in your own center." Just be authentic to who you really are. And then when it's happening to you, it's the hardest freaking thing in the world. And so, what is that about? Why can it kind of seem so simple, but be so hard to stay in ourselves and stay clear and real when we're feeling that pull? And how can we work with that to actually that maybe that's the whole point of them, but like, how, how do we do it? Ginny?
And today we'll be offering the Club Sandwich version of multi-layered questions.
Well, my answer to that is don't ask the Libra. Scout?
Oh, sure. So we're going to ask the Pisces.
Yeah, oh, God, we're screwed. Well, I mean, I think that question really on like a psychological level, I would say get to know your attachment style. Get to know your attachment style. Do you anxiously attach? Do you securely attach? Are you non-attached? Like, how do you react when someone is showing you potential, or when you're being seen by someone or desired to be seen by someone? And that's going to show you a lot of like how you relate. And instead of making the other person, putting them in charge of like taking care of that or tending to that, I would say work on that yourself. Work on securing yourself so that, the relationship itself can show you what it's there for, versus it becoming something that you're so merged with. And we kind of touched on it a little bit just a second ago, but we have a desire for energetic merging. And so when we merge our energy, and this happens a lot during sex, that energetic merging.
With any luck at all.
Good sex, orgasmic sex. Anyway, our spirit is getting the feeling of that interconnectedness. It's coming out of single identification and into a connection with another being, and that feels really good. That feels really good to our energy, because ideally that's what we're here doing, is making those connections, like recognizing we are one tapestry, but we're doing so through an individual experience. So then we kind of come shuddering back into our body. But that desire to merge, is a big part of that infatuation, and why it can be easy to lose yourself inside the other, is because we're longing to see in ourselves what we see in the other person. And so that person reflects to us what we want to see. Maybe it's strength, maybe it's beauty, maybe it's intelligence, it can be just such a wide facet of characteristics, and it's usually not one thing, but we really, really long for that. And so we can kind of merge into their energy, just hoping to see it in them and having them reflected back to us. But getting to know your attachment style just on this plane, I think, is so, so helpful, to know like what the cause is of why you're going into their energy, or kind of giving yourself over to someone. That's kind of a different thing. I think I got to the bread and the mayonnaise, maybe opinion. So, I don't know if those are in club sandwiches, but I think Scout's got the handle of the meat.
I thought last month was going to be the tricky month.
Nope. Mm-mm.
There's a tricky part that I watch. I mean, there's that fun aspect of dating and relationship when we encounter somebody and the connection we share with them clicks our heart switch on so brightly that all of a sudden, that in their eyes, all of a sudden we can feel ourselves being the who we really are part. We can feel ourselves being all of that we always knew, that they bring that part out in me. They light me up. They bring that part out in me. So there's a place where a lot of us have an energetic habit of tipping the doorman, as if there's a bouncer right there at the velvet ropes of the relationship possibilities with this other person, and that we have to tip the bouncer or give them a really good whatever. A lot of us have the habit of actually taking our core energy and bending it and extending it out to plug it into that relationship candidate or even our relationship partner, as if we're sort of like an auxiliary feeding tube, or we're the extra battery pack for their internal heart phone. But that we bend our energy out energetically to try and plug it in so that we're tipping the doorman, so that we're bringing extra to have paid the cost of admission for the overhead of actually allowing us into their lives. In the real world stuff, maybe I usually go to dinner at the local diner where I can have dinner for $10, whatever the number is. But all of a sudden with this person, I'm suggesting we go to dinner at the lovely restaurant where we could have dinner for $57 a piece. Not really within my normal budget, but I'm going to yata-data to tip the doorman to allow me into the relationship. It's sort of like, oh, don't use that phrase, Scott. It's an old phrase and it's tacky. Rework. Sorry, I got to reset my brain for a second. But there's that place of I want to have brought more to make sure that I get past the door and into the club of being their interest or their partner or their whatever. And then somehow we expect that we're going to pull it back. But energetically, that's represented with literally disconnecting my life force, plugging it into them and trying to rev them up as if I need to be paying extra to have been allowed in rather than I myself am bringing what I am, and that either matches or it doesn't. And so that is my version of Ginny's phrase attachment style, I think, if I got it right. Is look at the dance that we do, because there's that funny part that if I'm extending me out and paying extra, there's so many, I'm having a hard time. I have like 7 streams of thought and only one mouth, so I'll do my best to sort, guys. But if I'm busy extending myself out and paying extra and they're not appreciating all I'm doing, which they never ask for and they may not even notice and they don't know about, then all of a sudden, when they're not appreciating all of this extension that I'm doing to feed them and nurture them and lift them and feed them energy, blah, 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 then it's like they owe me now for having paid extra to the doorman to make it through the door. And so there's that snapback. But the biggest part is there's a wonderful teacher, Alison Armstrong, and her theory is if you meet somebody that knocks your socks off with how attractive they are, run away, run away, run away. You can't possibly date them because there's no way in the world you'll ever be able to maintain yourself when you're busy wanting to impress them. I don't have exactly the same theory, but there is if you meet somebody and that connection blows your lights wide open, then it's like practice time of come back to my heart, love them from me. Come back to my heart, love them from me. Come back to my heart, love them from me. Come back to my heart, love them from me, except faster. Because it'll happen way more often if they're really knocking your socks off.
I feel like the another part of that practice is that you're practicing receiving the being in me is enough for this person to be around me. Being in me is enough for this person to be around me. And like rewiring your own insecure attachment style or thought that you need to bend your energy out and give it to them in the first place.
And I'll cop to it. For me, the second half of that is being in me is enough for this person to be around with, and I think it's actually a sort of a confidence issue because there's also and if it's not, I have to be willing to let them go. We're not a match.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to be razzmatazz, then I have to be willing to let it go because I can't live at razzmatazz forever.
Mm-hmm. 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 And I want to add, just as a quick aside, that because we're touching on a lot of themes that kind of cross-connect to other episodes that we've done, that if you go and look at the November Spirit Talk, we did a whole episode, November 2021 was a whole episode on sexuality. And then March 2022 ties in really well with this as well, where we talked about honoring yourself in relationship.
Ooh, I have to know, did you know that off the top of your head or did you have notes?
Off the top of my head.
Ooh, I'm impressed. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, for those of you keeping track, this is Christopher Blush number 3 for this episode.
2 for the episode, 3 for the...
the other one was pre-episode. Okay.
That's right, yeah. I can't even detect it, but...
That's all right, I'll help you keep score.
Okay, right on. Let me fit in one more here before we go to our mid-show meditation. And... I can hear Scout in my head that's not going to fit in before the meditation.
Oh, sure it is. Go for it. Talk fast.
Okay. So what about the idea of like soulmates and twin flames and all of that? Are there particular people that we're meant to be with in this lifetime, like somebody that we're always working our way towards? Or is there another way to think about that?
I'm going to interject right away that free will rules all.
Yes, it does.
And so there is magnetic and there is magnetic attraction, and there are parallel courses and there are similar courses of study. The same way that when I declared my major in college, I predicted without knowing it that some large number of about 40 different guys would be in many of my classes because they were in the same course of study. It did not mean that we hung out. Wow, that was okay. I'm going to go ahead and say it. It did not mean that we hung out, got together, and got high, or even understood each other because I was the guy in the engineering school with the long hair and they were the crew cuts. But it did predict that they were going to show up in my classes a lot, which gave the opportunity to exchange information or do homework together, or actually, in some cases, find out they also got high. Oh, that's it. Ooh, yep, I'm not going to stay on that topic.
I like the idea of me having a room full of 40 guys out there waiting for me.
Hey now.
Yep.
Just to distract away from Scouts,
This
embarrassment, I'll own some of my own.
That was blush number 3 for the show.
There we go.
And I think it was Scout blush number 1, so I think we're good.
Put it on the board. Sometimes I think we fool ourselves a lot with the tag of soulmate, twin flame. It's a way to create specialness and also a way to secure how you're feeling about someone. Like if you make it so special, like if I call Scout my soulmate and I tell him he's my soulmate,
I light up like crazy.
It gives him less room for choice. It gives me all this like false sense of security that I can express myself and be connected to him and all that stuff because we are meant to be. It's similar to wedding rings and like these commitments or these ways we've tried to control and secure love.
In a really weird way, it's even similar to families promising 2 kids to each other between 2 different families when they're 7. So now they have no vote. That's just it. It's fated. It's dictated.
Yep. It's a way to try to create safety in love. And love by nature doesn't create safety that way. It won't create an egoic safety where it's like you will be mine forever or whatever. A soulmate, a twin flame, it's around just having a lot of connection. And really, if you're going into it with that mentality, I think you have to check yourself and say, am I trying to make this safe enough for me to love or to be present in? Because that is a huge, huge trap. And I see it all the time.
And it's also externalizing.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Because if that's my soulmate or that's my twin flame, then it's out there between us. It's not in here, my experience.
It could be the Libra in me that looks at every person as my soulmate and my twin flame, but I do tend to look at the people I meet on the street, the people I'm connecting with and relationship with and session with, as my soulmate in that moment. Like we are communing, we are connecting, we are, forging a path together, no matter if it's, I'm walking the block and we're talking, or if we're in it for years together. And so to either spread that specialness over all beings on this planet is the way I would look at soulmates and twin flames, that every person on the planet is that way, or to eliminate that idea because it doesn't matter. It won't make you feel any safer. Scout, how many clients of yours have come to you saying like they were my soulmate and now they're gone? Right. I mean, it's just, it can be devastating. It can be devastating when we label something, and then it doesn't work out in that way. We have a lot of explaining to do to ourself, to our heart, to our spirit, to the part of us that thought it was secure.
I think in that vein, there's also an angle to take where if we are projecting out that there is this thing that's waiting for us that we're trying to work our way towards, we don't let ourselves be with experiences that then seem to be lesser. Like I can't just explore with this person, or I can't see what this connection's about because it's not my full twin flame. So it's not worth letting in this connection or seeing what's here to be experienced and explored because I have to wait for the one, Another
form of creating safety, just in the opposite of what I was explaining. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm-hmm. I guess we're at the midpoint of the show now, so it's Scout's turn this month
That was
to do
quick.
the meditation. We did it perfectly. It's 12:30. We fit in the what I thought was going to be a big question, but we nailed it. So halfway through Spirit Talk every month, we drop in for a meditation and we alternate between Ginny and Scout. This month it's Scout's turn, and so we'll take some time to get aligned and then jump back into some more questions.
Fabulous. So I'd like to point out that meditation does not require that you're able to clear your mind and only have a single focus. The key part of meditation, whenever I teach it, I want to point out is the meditation time is a time to notice when you've drifted off focus, let go of that, and come back. Notice when you've drifted off focus, let go of that, and come back. Now, this is going to be relatively short, so you won't drift a whole lot of times, but just as a key element for practicing a meditation, it's not, gee, I can't meditate because I have other thoughts. It's like the score-based system is every time you can notice you drifted off and come back, you just scored one meditation point. So the good part is when you're early in meditation, you can score points about every 0.2 of a second. Drift back, drift back, drift back. It gets a little slower later, but it's like then you're shooting 3-pointers. So if y'all want to relax, I would invite you to let your eyes go closed and just draw in a long, deep breath till your lungs are full and let that air flow out again. And as you're ready for another breath, let it be a long, deep breath. And this time imagine that air flowing out through your body as if your body were layers of fabric or silk. And with each breath, let the air flow in and let it flow out through your body, feeling your body open and expand. And in your imagination now, I'd like you to imagine reaching a hand down to the center of this planet Earth and stirring that warm, rich, dense energy there. Curl that imaginary hand into a cup and use that cupped hand now to pull a surge, a streamer of that earth energy right up through the earth directly beneath you, up and into your body, just in front of your tailbone. That's your first chakra. And let it connect there. Let yourself take a moment to just relax and feel that matching warmth right there in front of your tailbone, all the way through the earth and all the way to the center of the earth. It's just energy passing through energy. Distances don't matter. And focusing on that connection point at your first chakra at the base of your spine, now draw that energy connection up in your body, deep inside your body, just in front of your spine. Draw that energy connection up through your abdomen, through your chest, through your neck, up into your head, through your head, out the top of your head. And stretch that streamer of energy from the center of the earth right up through your body, out the top of your head, and up and into a big energy cloud overhead that I'll just call Source, sort of equidistant. Take it into Source so that you are now a column of energy, drawing and flooding and willing an energy flow from the center of the earth right up through you, up and geysering or fountaining into that energy cloud above Source. And with a portion of your attention allowing that to continue to flow, bring your attention now to physical level deep inside your body at the level of your physical heart. But we're going to find that energetic heart chakra. Associated color is green. And let yourself just take a moment to imagine that you're unwinding or opening the valve or unclenching in that heart chakra area, that you're intentionally letting yourself soften and open to let yourself move your focus into that heart chakra state of being. Picture something that triggers love for you, whether it's flowers, sunrises, particular people, baby ducks, cats, puppies. Just picture something that triggers love for you while your focus is in that heart center. And let yourself intentionally trigger yourself into a state of love. Let that expand so that that heart center radiance can shine out your physical back and out through your body in front of you, up through your body above your head, down through your body below you, and out through the sides of you. It's symmetrical, but it's centered deep inside your body, just in front of your spine, deep in your rib cage. Think of another thing that triggers you to a state of love. baby ducks, deserts, oceans, beautiful art. Think of another thing that triggers you to a state of love. Trees, flowers, kittens, puppies, warm laundry, fresh out of the dryer, whatever. And now just stay with that and let that heart space expand. And give yourself another big breath. Staying in that heart space through the rest of the show, bring yourself back to being present, bring your eyes open and come on back into our virtual and imaginary room. Now, just to reinforce it, I do a lot of energy flow while we're doing that. And the weird part about the universe is that God, the universe, and everything doesn't care whether that's at the moment that we create it or whether that's at the moment that a recording is replayed. Energy flow effectively also records or remembers or turns back on. And so you may have felt that you could find yourself into that state and that you'll be able to expand that state between the energy flow that Ginny and I are doing, that you'll be able to expand that state through the program. Just hang with it. And anytime you're noticing that your heart forgot that you wanted to be here in the world, come back and throw this one back up on YouTube.
That was delicious, Scout.
Thanks.
Yeah. How do you do words all the time when you're always in this lit up heart feeling, man?
A lot of practice. So I'm going to jump backwards to the cheese we were on of the multi-layered sandwich, which was, when I look at the idea of soulmates and twin flames, I drop back again to that original picture that all of us are a fragment in a deep energetic weave of the original wholeness that has, gone into the school of earth to study separateness and do work there. But that all of us have, again, there are other energy flows around us that we have a lot of threads with. Those are other entities with whom we are mated at soul level. And the ones that we have a tremendous amount of threads with, it's kind of like they're on the same major we're on. They're most likely to show up in our classes. They're most likely to be on the planet at the same time. We're most likely to go, oh, there you are, hi. And yet it's not an indication that that's anything we need to do about that in this lifetime, other than it's a reminder of our heart connect. If you did that same meditation exercise, but you carefully, and I didn't do it because it's so easy to get distracted into all the villains, but if you carefully thought of the people that you've had a deep, profound love connection with, even if it was your favorite barista that you never exchanged more than your order with, but you could feel that heart space. I have a heart connection with a cook at a Mexican restaurant up the road that's slightly further than my normal lunch range, but I go there anyway. I've never met this person. They're in the back. All I know is that when I eat their food, my heart lights up. It's a weird experience, and I like it a lot. When my friends and I are going to go someplace, it'll be, you want to go to the Happy Food restaurant? It took me a year and a half of going there before I knew the name of the place. It's the Happy Food restaurant. I have no idea who this cook is, but she and I have a heart connect in some way that it's easiest if I just leave that alone and go eat food at the Happy Food restaurant. So when we share threads, it touches us in our core essence. Again, whether it's our best friend's baby, whether it's the 16-year-old redhead in the gaming shop that I had an instant crush on because of the level of heart connect, but obviously I am not going to go hang out at a gaming store and flirt with a 16-year-old. It's going to look a little skeevy. So there was no place to go with that other than to remember the level of heart connect and to be reminded of my own heart lighting up in response to those threads.
And so there's lots of different ones, and they trigger us in different ways. Kind of just
I'm in love with Ginny's dog, and I haven't met her yet.
Yeah, I met.
But she really touches. It's not. I mean, I like dogs, but Jenny's dog Friday really touches me at my heart, and I haven't met her yet. That'll be sort of interesting to find out if she knows too.
I met Friday once, and it was a peak experience. She's
a special one.
So let me jump into some more questions here for the second half of the show, and I want to start with, as we're
Thank you, Suzanne, by the way.
As we're in the phase of dating, right, and experimenting. Maybe we're on a dating app. Maybe we're just getting out there and doing the dance with others to see if they are a match to us and if we do have shared threads and all of that. As we're in that phase of experimentation and testing things out and sniffing around, so to speak, getting a little close and then, you're not the one, and backing out and getting a little close and maybe, maybe not. How do we approach all of that in a conscious way and not feel bad or get tangled up in the process of the experimentation and the figuring out of it? Ginny, can I pass that to you?
Yeah, learning how to lovingly say, no, that's not for me. I mean, I think there's all you're doing. I think that really that question stems from a fear of hurting someone, right?
Mhm.
Of like feeling that connection and then not feeling that connection. And how do I manage that upset, of like it was here, now it's gone, mainly for them, not so much for you, except for in the reflection of like, I'm a bad person for hurting this person's feelings. But really, when we separate, right, if we come together, we have connection, connection, connection. And then for whatever reason, that's no longer there. The sooner you separate, you're sending them off to find and to connect with what is more aligned with them. And you're doing the same for you. That's not bad.
Mm. I guess
I
there's
think
something there
that's
too about,
harmless.
mhm. I guess there's something there too about like, is there a higher or a more conscious way to approach that area of life where one isn't getting in and out of things that may or may not be right? Would it be better to just be in one's flow and wait for the universe to make you trip into somebody at a bookstore and trust that? Or is there something to this process of kind of the intentional experimentation of the dating scene?
Neither are wrong, but if you, if you just wait for what comes along, you are kind of being a term I just recently learned, like a pillow princess, and just kind of like allowing things to happen.
For those of
If
you
you,
keeping score, that was Christopher Blush number 4.
um, and so, you can do that, sure. But it's also good to direct your energy to know what you want to the best of your knowingness and put it out there. And to the best of your ability without over efforting, go out and seek what it is that you want. Because when we're totally passive, there is great lesson in being passive and allowing things to show up. But also, it's important to be conscious of what you want to the best of your know-how. And sometimes it's like, ooh, I want all of this, but not this 20%. It's like, okay, move on, you know. But it's okay to uh, allow yourself that forward momentum. You're not being like, I don't know, a conquistador and like out there just like plowing through people. And maybe you are, but it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to date. It's not a bad thing to date multiple people. It's okay to experiment. Just be conscious and honest with the people that you're where you're at. I've learned that the hard way. Just communicate where you're at and what phase of dating you're in. If you're in an experimental phase, communicate that, and then their feelings are on them.
I'm going to do a really, really quick version of a 2.5-hour workshop, so y'all think fast. I have what I've referred to as the 5 basic rules of love that we get integrated, and it's insidious how deeply they get programmed. But the 5 basic rules of love are: there is someone out there. We're supposed to find them. We'll know it when we find them by the feeling. We'll recognize that feeling when we feel it, and we're supposed to be with them for the rest of our lives. There is someone out there. We're supposed to find them. We'll know it when we find them by the feeling. We'll recognize that feeling, and we're supposed to be with them for the rest of our lives. Now, I solved this equation when I was 5.5 years old. It was Rachel or Rebecca. I just know it was an and a lot of syllables, but I was in kindergarten. I don't remember. And it's not like I then went home and, Mom, I've solved the equation. And she went, dang, 7 billion people on the planet? You did it by 5? You're a genius. Let's schedule the wedding. Nope. Somewhere along early on, we learned there's also this other rule that says that it's either, sorry, Friday, puppy love, or that it's an infatuation. And that, and then, when you're 14 and you're telling your parents that we need you to sign this paperwork so that we can get married underage, and your parents are saying, you think it's in love, we don't think it's love. How will we know? Well, we'll know. Ready, everybody? Y'all know what the parents say at that point. You'll know that this love of your life at 14, it really is your love of your life if it lasts. So now we've got rule 6. There is somebody out there. We're supposed to find them. We'll know when we find them by the feeling. We'll recognize that feeling when we feel it. We'll be with them for the rest of our lives. But the only way we can know if this feeling really is the feeling is if we could be with them for the rest of our lives. And then it throws us into what I refer to as the checklist. Ooh, I could be with that for the rest of my life. Oh, yeah, I could be with that. Well, if they have somebody that really loves them, they'll get over that. Ooh, I could be with that for the. Oh, I should be more mature. That shouldn't really matter to me. But we're there at the checklist. And as we go through the checklist, every time we hit an in the checklist, we close our heart down because we don't want to be in that feeling that seems like the feeling if we can't be with them for the rest of our lives. This topic is hand gestured for the conceptually impaired. And so we close our love down so that we'll have an escape route because we really get believing that we have to be with them if we still love them. And you get the whole War of the Roses concept. First I have to make sure I hate them, then we can break up. Summary of that workshop after it loops all the way around. The truth is that the rules as we've learned them are wrong. But the original rules were correct. There's just been a small typo. The actual rules of relationship are there is someone in there, in you. You're supposed to find you. You'll know it when you find you by the feeling. You'll recognize that feeling when you feel it. And then your role is to be in there, in your heart, in you for the rest of your life, or at least keep coming back to it. So it's really funny that how do I find somebody? How do I make more people find me attractive so I have more options? Turn up your light. Bring yourself to your center, brighten your light. How do I find people that I would have a lot in common with? Turn up your center, brighten your light, do the things you love to do, and let yourself love doing them while you're doing them. How do I find people that would be attracted to somebody like me? Turn up your light, shine your light. How do I let them actually be attracted to me rather than me tipping the doorman, getting into a club I don't think I belong in? Turn up your light, come back to your heart, shine yourself bright, and be that. The whole gig of relationship is come back to, from my experience, because I'm kinesthetic and empathic based, come back to your heart, come back to your light. I have no idea what that looks like on a visual scale. On an empathic scale, it's a feeling thing. Come back to my heart, be my light. Notice when I'm hesitant, notice when I've closed down, notice when I got frightened. Come back to my light, heart, and be my light. Some of y'all know, right after this aired, we're just now taking down an art show I just did where I showed my photography for the first time in a public gallery. I cannot tell you how terrifyingly exposed I felt. And I had to just keep coming back to my heart and be my heart at the opening reception. Be my heart as I produced the art and brought the art into the gallery. Be my heart as I stood in front of the art, which actually turned out to be easy. It overwhelmed me. But all of these other feelings of maybe I should hide, maybe it's not worthy, maybe I've tipped the doorman and that's the only reason my art is in here. All of it is come back to your heart, be your light, and walk in your life, be in your light. There is someone in there. You're supposed to find them. You'll recognize it when you find you by the feeling. You'll recognize that feeling when you feel it. And the whole gig is to keep coming back to that. Unconditionally is the word, unconditional love. The truth is, regardless of circumstances. So there you all go. If you got all of that, you just did a 2-hour workshop in like 4 minutes. Well done.
Thankfully, it's on YouTube, so people can play it back and maybe do it in halftime.
That was Scout Blush number 2.
Okay. I think you just kind of touched on my second to last question, but I'll put it out in case there's anything else that either of you want to say on it. But it's the idea of for those who are single and might feel like they're wanting or craving relationship with others, is there a way for them to best orient themselves or work their energy to prepare for or facilitate that possibility? I just heard, do what you love to do, light up your light, glow up your your glow, and let it come in its time as you're living your authentic beingness, right?
There's a really weird part about being human that all of us know the things that feed us and nurture us. And they're in a file in the back of our mind marked for emergencies only. As if it's cheating for us to go refill our energies, if it's cheating for us to to go do the things that feed and nurture us. Trees and moving water feed me. And yet sometimes it's like, well, maybe I should do, maybe I should do my homework first, or maybe I should whatever, or, and so I will tell you that in my own mind, I had to cheat. I couldn't get rid of the notion that I only do the things that feed and nurture me for emergencies only. So I just had to redefine emergency instead. To any time I'm noticing I'm running at less than my brightest, that's an emergency. Time for me to go get out among trees and running water. And for me, it's so simplistic, it's hysterical. I can lean against the little tree in my yard and hold the hose, even though there's an automatic watering system for that grass, a low flow, so I'm not wasting too much water. But I can hold a hose and lean against a little tiny tree, and that'll do it. Not to the same degree as hiking up to the place where there's a stream and trees, but it's still a refill. So a big piece of it is notice the things that feed and nurture you, and then do them on purpose. And if you have to, do them as a favor to your current or future loved one. Here, I'm going to go do you a favor, future person I've not yet dated, because I am going to go feed and nurture me and expand the degree to which I can fill my light.
I love it. The only thing I'll add to it is to be really conscious of what you're ready for to the best of your ability, and to call that in and trust, like you just call that in, let go, and trust in divine timing. Because even though you're like, okay, I've been single for 5 years, I'm finally ready to come out of my cave, where are you? It may happen that way. And it may be in kind of, people that you date that are getting you closer and closer and closer to something that's more in alignment with you. It happens in so many varied ways. But just trust that each person that shows up in your life, whether it's a big bang or a trickle or whatever it is, that they're supporting your overall desire and the potential of what you're ready for in that moment.
I'm thinking, I know I've also heard you talk before, Ginny, about how sometimes we can block ourselves from what we are not yet ready for. And so there can be parts of us that think, I just want a partner, I'm ready to date, but if it's not coming in, it can actually be that there's other parts of us that need tending or want to develop to feel ready for that. And we ourselves are actually the ones that are kind of on a higher level saying, like, no, this doesn't serve me yet, or I'm not ready for this, or feeling ready for this yet.
I'm going to go from a completely side angle, and it's going to be a tiny bit dark for a moment, so I apologize to y'all. I had an experience at one point in time where I had a client come in and she was done in her marriage. She was done. It was done. I think the one line in Throw Mama from the Train is, I hate the way she eats soup. Done. She was done. And wanted me to coach her through being done and getting out of the marriage. And quite frankly, she had been out of the workforce and so forth. So from my perspective, it makes a whole lot more sense to accelerate my car while I'm still on the nice, safe acceleration ramp rather than just hang a sharp turn out in the middle of the highway and try and go. And so I was coaching her through getting her light back, getting her light shining brightly, even while we coached through some of the practical details of getting stuff organized financially in her world. But a whole lot of what we were doing was getting her light back. And she came into a session some amount of time later. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a while. She came in and she was furious, which is not my favorite way to start a session. But she came in and she was furious. And what the swear word were you doing? What'd I do? You've messed everything up. What'd I do? Well, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my husband is like paying attention to me and telling me how much he loves me and bringing me flowers and hurrying to come home. What are you doing? Oh, puppy, thanks. What are you doing? We had this all solved. And it's like, yeah, sorry, we turned up your light. And all of a sudden, you were your own entity, and that entity is attractive. So now you're going to have to deal with it. You've got a boyfriend that you're married to, and, it turns out that that's way less paperwork. And as it went, they actually rebuilt the relationship. But her job then became, for herself, her job in the relationship was to be maintaining her light. Doing the things that fed and nurtured her was a major important part of the contribution of the relationship for her. Am I willing to keep shining my light, even if there's somebody else that likes me?
Right. Yeah, the source of our resentment is usually what we're denying ourselves. And it sounds like that was a big part of what she was working with there was that.
Well, there is that funny part that being married to a zombie doesn't catch that much of one's attention if they've gone dim. I've been the one that went dim. It didn't work well for me. God, that's a whole nother 2-hour workshop. Sorry,
All
guys.
good. All good. I'm going to fit in one last question here, but I just want to check in if Ginny, did you have anything else you wanted to add on that last bit?
Ask your question. I'll see what
Okay.
comes.
And so I'm going to kind of go like
I think we're all the way in. I think we're all the way into the spiced lunch meats by now.
That was one multi-layer sandwich question. There's a whole lunch. There's a soda, there's chips, there's a sandwich.
Ask your question, Chris.
I'm gonna go full Buddha to round out the show here and ask like on a really spiritual level here, like when we're pursuing or we're wanting we're something outside of ourselves, we're drawn to others, we're dating, we're attracted, does that show in some way that we're not completely whole or enlightened or in ourselves yet, that we're still looking for something in the mirror? And is there a point at which you no longer want or pursue that thing? At some stage of consciousness, does this whole conversation that we're having drop away, or is it kind of always part of our process and experience here? Ginny?
Well, I can't see me. I am having an internal experience looking out. I need a mirror. And you are my mirror, and you are my mirror, and you are my mirror.
And you get a mirror, and you get a mirror.
And it is how we look in. The problem is that we forget that part, that you are reflection. And so we tend to get lost in that. But when we kind of recalibrate and do look at each individual relationship as a reflection of self, we're getting it, and we are coming into a place of wholeness. And we're not meant to be islands. That's not what this experience is. Osho said, that no one becomes enlightened sitting on the top of a mountain by themselves. It's among the people. Of course, you can be enlightened up there. You just all you have is your own ideology. It's perfect, but it's in the mixing with other people that we grow, and that we develop, and we gain empathy, understanding, compassion, love, and we ascend spiritually. And also, orgasms and connection and cuddling and all of that is like karmic incentive. Like, why not? Same as chocolate is to the body. I mean, these are literal karmic incentives. So why not enjoy it? Don't be overindulgent. Sure. I can throw some dogmatic things that way if we want to, but really, I think enjoy your incentives. That is the bonus for getting through difficult times, or finding a middle ground, or overcoming a fear, or daring to be in love. Like, why not?
There's in the book Illusions by Richard Bach, highly recommend it, one of my favorite books in the world. There's a place in there where they actually give you a simple test of whether or not you've completed your life path. Here's a simple test of whether or not you've completed your lessons. If you're still here, you haven't. Ram Dass describes recognizing his teacher Maharishi, and he describes the moment when he realized, and this is my paraphrase, he does not say this at all, but the moment when he realized that the Maharishi was interconnected with all, but didn't need any of it, but was so interconnected with all that he could see all of what was Ram Dass, well, at that point, Dick Gregory, that he could see all of, Dick Gregory, but he could see any other all of, but didn't need any of it to be there with him. But if it was there with him, he would bring his focus to it. It's all a drive toward there is someone in there. We're supposed to find us. We'll know it when we find us by the feeling. We recognize that feeling when we feel it. and it's to keep coming back and being that for the rest of our lives. I think there is a place of fully realized where one recognizes that one has no needs, and that doesn't make it not fun to encounter a new person that touches your heart and lets you have another flavor of heart light. But it's about your heart light. That's the bummer, because it looks like it's about them and whether or not we can tip the doorman enough that we can get into the club and we can hit one that's beyond our hotness level, and whether or not we could have that one lucky thing. And it's really about how much can I let my heart light continue to shine, and how much can I play with for me, how much can I play with the parts of me that thinks that maybe my heart light isn't enough. Maybe I need to like razzmatazz and add some extra, fanciness to it. I'm not enough just as a perfect Sunday. I need sprinkles somehow. I don't know.
I'm guessing you'd also say we get there when we get there, and if you're not there yet, why try to force yourself to be there when you could be getting there by learning through the relationships that you're currently drawn to?
And everybody gets there. Nobody doesn't get there, and you can't get there any sooner than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're there isn't any time and space anymore. So you actually have all the time in the world to get there, because once you're there isn't any world and there isn't any time. Yeah, go chew on that one in slow replay.
Yeah. Cool. What was the final score? 4 blushes for Chris, 2 for Scout?
4 for Chris, 2 for Scout. Yeah. Well,
okay.
and you had the pregame blush too, but we're not counting that.
Apparently,
when we were tailgating.
Okay, for sure. We'll see how that goes in future shows. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. This one was a ton of fun. We'll be back on the first Friday of May. And yeah, my name's Christopher Mitchell. I'm an astrologer. You can hit me up at unlimitedastrology@gmail.com if you're interested in a reading. And by this time next month, I might have an exciting update to add on to that, but I'll leave that as a teaser and pass it over to Ginny and Scout.
You can find me at reverendginnyBrown.com, and we can explore your karmic incentives, your relationships, individual with yourself, with companions, whatever you want. Hit me up. Scout.
And she also does animal communication.
That's great.
And I'm Scout, not Scott, Bartlett. You can find a shortcut to my website in just notscott.com, but it's right there. I do a radio show. It's part of how I tithe to the universe. I produce and host a radio show that broadcasts in San Francisco every Monday and Wednesday. We archive them. We have hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of metaphysical and personal growth teaching archived in the website, all there for you for free. And working together individually, it's untangling the knots and launching you back into who you are. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. In fact, gather up your entire Outlaw Underground embroidery gang and get them all to come in and subscribe. We don't care if they actually watch the event. Well, we'd like them to, but mostly we just kind of need some subscription numbers. So we'd appreciate it if you've got kids with a 7 million person TikTok following, just as a hoot, get them to go in and all subscribe to our YouTube page just to like sort of weird everybody out. We'd love that. We love you guys very much. There is a contribution link. If all of your contributions go to support this program happening, we appreciate those. First, go ahead and mark your electronic calendar, first Friday of every month. Treat yourself as a loved one, and just notice no matter where on earth you are, it's a perfect day to have a great day on purpose.